down the hammer and pick up the pencil. You're about to listen to the Savvy Radio Show. Learn from real-life real estate investors, experience revealed with the Savvy Landlord as your host.
Well, welcome to the Savvy Radio Show. This is your friend, Steve VanCauwenbergh, a.k.a. Savvy Landlord. Whatever you want to call me, it doesn't matter. I'm your friend in the airwaves podcast, trying to live the life like everybody else. And there's some bumps and bruises and some things I've learned along the way, and that's what today is about. We're in the month of June 2022, and it's that time of the year. Learning should be your priority. It's summertime, not just to lay down and at the pool. If you're laying down by the pool, you should be picking up a book or listening to an audiobook. My favorite things to do. So here's some things that I've learned thus far in the last couple of months. Number one, it has taken 3 months to rent out a commercial building. I put fail, commercial fail. I bought this 4,000 square foot beautiful place, a kind of retail / office. It used to be a doctor's place, and then they rented it out to a church. And then I swooped in, got a smoking deal on the property, and I have a ton of holding costs. And I got a daycare to be interested in it. They did their due diligence, and then they kept hitting roadblock after roadblock after roadblocks, plural, with our little fun city in here in Oklahoma called The Village. And they couldn't get an occupancy permit. And so after 3 months, I was kind of in engagement with them, and then they had to pull out because they couldn't get the occupancy. And I'm going to find out more details later, but just think about it logically. I'm trying to rent this place out for $4,000 to $5,000. So right there, $12,000 in lost revenue. Plus I've been making a mortgage payment about 3 G's somewhere with holding costs. So 10 G's I've already lost. Ladies and gents, that is the life of commercial real estate. You've got to have some savings. You got to have thick skin, and 1 minute you think it's the high life, and then something fails within minutes later. Another thing that I learned on this property is that you have to have a fire alarm. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls around the world. And I checked this out throughout the city, any kind of commercial building in general, you're going to have some sort of a monitoring system for fire. Now, if you have maybe a fire suppression system like a sprinkler system, this may be a little bit different, but a regular building, an office building that's considered commercial, you're going to have a monitored fire alarm. And this building did not have it. They had a regular alarm system, but they did not have a fire alarm, which is a little bit more elaborate in the regard of zones and sensors and direct contact to the fire department. Interesting. Something that you need to learn. So another 9 G's down the line that you're going to have to pony up and do if you're going to play this game. So number one, not that fun. This game of real estate, especially commercial real estate. Number two, expectations of knowledge. So, in the real commercial game is where I'm really focused in right now and dialed in or trying to be. And there's just this nuance that I continue to bump my head against, is that people that I work with, commercial grade people, brokers, bankers, contractors, they have an expectation that you have a specific knowledge. I don't know. I wrote that down. I wrote down in my notes, expectations of knowledge. There is no, I don't know, or I didn't know. You need to know. Ooh, come on. Can I get an amen with that? Expectations of knowledge. You need to know this stuff. There is no, I don't know, or I didn't know. You need to know. Hopefully that resonates with you. Hopefully that encourages you. If you are trying to make that transition into commercial, welcome to the club. And I'm new just like you, but you've got to get your knowledge dialed in. You cannot leave anything to chance or ignorance. So jump on it, get on it, bang, bang. Another thing that I'm reading a few books. It's summertime, and my whole family, my kids, we got 10 books to read this summer. And I, of course, as a leader, as the father of the home, and happy Father's Day this last week for you, or today, whenever you get this podcast. I'm reading a book. and this thing popped out in the book. It's like sometimes you do deals not just for money. This is number 3 in my learning of this couple months here. There's a human return, a relationship. And, it really struck a chord in me. Sometimes I may go with someone else, maybe a contractor, maybe even a broker, right? I try to share the wealth, and I'm really loyal to the people that are loyal to me. But I realize there might be a time, and this may be where you're at right now, there may be a time that you need to do a relationship with someone instead of just a return on money. And so let me just give you a personal experience that just happened to me. So I have a pool. Yep, I have a pool. So excited. My wife kind of made me have a pool. And my pool guy is fanatical about about Mercedes-Benz. This dude has a Mercedes Sprinter van. His whole fleet of pool vehicles are all Sprinter Mercedes-Benz. And one day I chatted with this dude, and we connected, and he was just going off about how he loves Mercedes-Benz Sprinter vans, and he knew everything about them. It was just like, wow, this dude is an expert. And, just so you know, in the VanCauwenbergh family or business, we procured a RV Mercedes Class B, and we're hanging out in this thing, and I'm having some issues. And I was fortunate enough, I texted the guy, I was like, hey, and I need some help with my Mercedes-Benz. How does it work? And this dude was so much full of knowledge. I could have, within a 30, 40-minute phone call with this guy, I probably saved hours of research and what to look for and how to negotiate, and it was incredible. Well, that popped up in my head when I was writing this podcast. Something went wrong with my pool, and the pool pump was going bad, so I had to replace it. And he's a little bit more than the average pool guy, and he warrants it for his quality of service and time and speed, and he's just an amazing, passionate dude about pool. Well, I was out of town, and my pool broke, and the dude came over and fixed it, and I was trying to figure out how much extra did I pay this dude. Like, the pump was X amount, $1,000. How much is the labor? He charged me this. And I was trying to figure it out. I was like, man, maybe $300, maybe $500. It was worth it, right? Now, of course, if you're a thrifty dude, it's kind of, but the level of service is worth it. That's something I've been learning to deal with. But I had an issue again with my Mercedes, and the dude just answers my call and solves my problem. So that's why sometimes you need to do a deal or hire someone, a coach, because that coach could open your door to unlimited funding. And I learned this from a wonderful real estate investor. I asked him one time, I was like, man, why do you go to that class or this other situation or this mastermind group, and why do you pay all this money for this one group? And and he told me, he's like, hey, it ushers him into their network. You can buy someone's network. So sometimes when you're doing a transaction, number 3 here, think of it not just on the monetary, the money aspect, but what's the relationships that you're building? And I look at that in the commercial world. My broker that I have, I know there's probably several hundred, maybe 1,000 commercial brokers, and they're probably all pretty baller. Now, on the residential side, I don't know. I've only ran into problems. But I'm telling you, I stick with a dude for relationships and pocket deals, and sometimes I may pay more commission, okay? So think of it like that. That's number 3. Number 4, having a scarcity mentality will hurt you. Look, I'm telling you, this is something I'm really dealing with. I got to let it go. Tell us, you got to drop off the small stuff. And I'm talking the stuff like that just happened with the pool. I mean, I can't be scarce. And I know that there's some people out there that need to hear that, not just on the pool situation, that you're missing a ton of deals and building a ton of relationships with some powerful people because your mindset and your belief system about money is not accurate. And so just for me personally, this is something that I'm trying to overcome because I've just been thrifty my whole life because I'm trying to rub 2 nickels together and trying to make it work. But there's a certain time you just pay for it. not try to find the cheapest attorney, not try to find the cheapest handyman. I'm telling every time I try to do that, or I have done that, I just get stung. I don't get the service. And I'm dealing with that right now with my book that I'm trying to release called Private Money Be the Bank. Put your money to work in real estate. Okay, yep, it's coming out. That's a little teaser for you. But I'm just trying to deal with an artist. And then sometimes I just get insecure. Like it's not the money, it's the process. But I tend to just go trying to do it on my own. And I just being too thrifty, being too frugal. It's just scarcity mentality. And it just comes to bite you in the butt later. Stop having that mentality. Me too. I figured it out when I'm talking to somebody. I need to make more money. I want the very best graphic artist. I'm going to hire the very best graphic artist. And so if I can't afford it today, I'm going to try to make as much money in another endeavor or trying to some other way so I can get the very best. Think that way. Scratch the scarcity mentality. Number 5, when knowledge meets opportunity, success can be achieved. This must have been in a book I read. Oh, yeah. So what's in a book? So I'm reading several books. This book is The Only Women in the Room, Knowledge and Inspiration from 20 Women in Real Estate Investors. So this right out the gate, right at the beginning of the chapter, the intro, they said this: when knowledge meets opportunity, success will be achieved. Let me say it one more time slow. When you're reading, okay, knowledge, when you're learning from a mentor, from a coach, when knowledge meets opportunity, success will be achieved. And this book is off the chain. So get this book. You can get it on Kindle for like $3. Only Women in the Room, Knowledge and Inspiration from 20 Real Estate Investors. Someone referred this to me, my man, Andy Summer. He turned me on to this book. And it was just interesting, just a lot of these ladies' perspective in their relationship with a divorce, their relationship with men, how this world of real estate investing is kind of dominated by men and how men look. It was just interesting learning on their side and really respecting women in general, but really honoring women in real estate. It's just a phenomenal read. It's just what it did for me is just inspired me to keep going because their stories were inspirational. And I'll say something about that here in a minute, but it was just impactful. So knowledge, the more knowledge you get, all right, opportunity will be there. You need to soak it up. Number 6, remind them that wealth is not a prerequisite to investing, but that investing is a prerequisite for wealth. I don't remember what book I got this in, but I wrote this down and it kind of just jacked me. Number 6 says, remind them that wealth is not a prerequisite for investing, but that investing is a prerequisite for wealth. So you can get it. Basically, anybody can get into the game. You can get in the game of investing. There's no requirement. You can be from the hood. You can be the most uneducated person on the planet, okay? And you can learn to be an investor. That's what you're doing right now on this real estate podcast or investor podcast. But for you to go to the next level, whatever that is, for you to be wealthy, you've got to learn how to be an investor. You see, no prerequisite to learn to be an investor, but you have to be an investor for wealth. Come on. I know this is deep stuff. I wrote this down. I know you guys are probably thinking like, what in the world is wrong with this dude? I know. Number 7, learning to communicate. Listen and create pauses. So this is a dude I've been reading a book on. I can't remember his name right now, from London. And he's this persuasive cat. And I mean, all of his techniques are just amazing. And I'm learning because I realized how much I failed in the level of communication and how communication is so important in just getting your point out, raising private money, buying deals, communicating with brokers, communicating with bankers. These are just necessary things that you're going to have to learn and AKA master. And so I kind of dive in, and this guy was like, you got to listen to people, okay, and you got to create pauses. And, it's hard in this world. We're rapid fire, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And are we genuinely listening? But if we create a pause, and I'm trying to do this, like when I'm trying to listen to somebody, just pause, and it could create a healthy balance. And you got to look at communicating with your banker or your wife or your husband or whatever as a game of tennis. Back and forth. Don't dominate the conversation the whole time. I'm listening to myself. That's what sometimes I do. I get so excited I forget where I'm at, right? My wife hasn't seen me all day, and I just want to tell, I got to listen to her first. Back, and pause, and back, and pause, and back, back and forth, back and forth. It's a balancing act that you will only increase that relationship and increase your skill of communication. Think of it as you're communicating to somebody as a wonderful game of tennis where there's this really long rallies. Start practicing learning how to communicate better with pauses. Number 8. Man, this is just in my own little world right now. Partnerships are like a honeymoon. I made this up. Hold up, wait a minute, once more. I guess I need to think about it. I'm telling you, man, I get into relationships and I just started believing everything, and then things just started unraveling. I mean, it's not a negative thing, but the great thing that I realized is that I need to slow down. And I'm going to say this. I've said this about several times before. And if you're going to get into a partnership with somebody, at least take some time. Like your husband or your wife, you want to marry somebody, take 6 months. I'm telling you, I realize this a lot. I get excited about a project, and I could see the potential, and I see the vision, and I see the potential in the person I'm working with. But see, the scales don't come off. You're in this honeymoon period for at least 6 to 12 months. And I just realized something, and someone else, and to speed this process up, if you have this situation, like you're going to cut a deal with somebody, or you're going to go build a project with somebody, you might want to bring a trusted person around and let them pick other things apart. My really good friend of mine said to me the other day, if this person acted like this now, what is it going to be like when you're in a relationship with them? Ooh, I didn't think about it because I see the potential in this opportunity, and I don't want to get into the details at this moment, maybe later. But the reality is like, I see the potential. I see that it's going to work, but I'm not seeing how my partner may not be showing up to the project or contribute when necessary, when needed. And so you really need to realize, and I have some good friends in my world, praise the Lord, that just kind of encourage me, slow down and really take some time to just take it in. So there's a honeymoon, and you need to be prepared for the honeymoon. And when is it going to end in that relationship? Number 9, how to respond to retrade. So one of my superstar clients called me up. This dude's doing $3 million deals now. And I always, he's a little out of my league, but I can hang with him. And he's like, man, hey, I got this $3 million warehouse under contract. I know going in that the roof was bad. And so we worked on a number, 3 million point something. I'm like, okay, great. And he's like, during my due diligence, I got to retrade on the guy. And I'm like, ooh, retrade. What retrade is like you go back and renegotiate. Basically, hey, fix this or give me a concession or something. In the residential world, it's pretty common. You find a roof that either needs to be repaired and yes or no, right? But in this case, in commercial, it could really lead to bad taste in people's mouths, and it could really tarnish your pristine reputation with the brokers, which you're going to have a lifelong relationship with. And it could really piss off the individual you're buying or selling to, so on and so forth. We're usually buying because you're retrading. And so my man called me up. He said, hey, how do I deal with this? There's X amount of AC units on there, in the tune that they're all kind of bad and jank-a-lank, and it's about $90,000. Now, this is a $3 million deal. $90,000 is not a lot of money. It is a lot of money. Don't get me wrong. I mean, I'm not trying to be like I'm somebody big, like, ooh, not, But the reality is, it just seems small. 90,000, 100,000, okay, it's in there. So he was worried that, he didn't want to tarnish his relationship. And I was like, hey, man, this is how you need to do this. You got to do the Dale Carnegie method. You need to call your broker. You need to have lunch with the broker, and you present it to him first and just disclose, I don't like to retrade. I have a pristine relationship reputation and have a pristine relationship with you. I don't want to be known in this industry as someone that's just going to go back and retrade every time, because you will get found out. It will affect you. It will hurt your game. Okay. And I'm just telling you that in the front end. Okay. I've seen people go down, lose opportunities because they know if they could squeeze out another 50 G's. In this case, it's true. And I asked my homie, I was like, what do you want out of this situation? He's like, I really want the 90,000. I was like, well, this is what I would do. I would present the situation and have fully documented that you went to the ends of the earth not to let this happen. Like you hired a professional HVAC guy and there's no way to save these. And that's what I would do. And I'm telling you, you're going to have saving the egg on your face. Instead of you just sending back a retrade form or, a documentation, this is what it is, let the brokers work it out and you'll be pleasantly surprised. So I don't know. I just helped my homie with that. So I don't know what was the outcome, but that's just my take on it. And you got to ask yourself, is $90,000 worth it? Again, we're doing deals for what reason? Right in the beginning of this podcast, for relationships, yes, and monetary, yes. And there's just a fine balance right there that what is it going to do? I had one of those at this transaction I'm closing, this Family Dollar. It was about a $50,000 same situation, but the deal was so good, the cap rate was so right, I just kind of let it slow down. I didn't beat the dude up too bad, but I did ask for a little concession, and I got a little concession back. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But how bad do you want the deal? That's what I look at it. All right. So, number 10, not just getting to be successful, but learn to sustain the level of success really matters. All right. So this is, I'm going to probably do a whole podcast. I got a podcast coming up on the latest 5 books that I've just read or I've been reading. This one is the 50 Cent, Curtis Jackson new book. And just right out of the gate, this book is phenomenal. If you can get it on Audible, it says the dude's voice, 50 cents. And, I like a little hip hop. I mean, I'm not really on the dude's Nickies, but the reality is I'm fascinated by 50 Cent, how he's created himself and had just stardom with his record business. And then he's parlayed into all this other stuff. So anyway, I definitely recommend. It's like Hustle Harder, Hustle Smarter, Curtis Jackson. But right at the gate, I wrote this down, and I put this a couple days ago, but it's not about being successful, getting to something. Like he called it the summit. I made it to the summit to when I got to, this 10 million records for 50 cents at the club, whatever. He's like, the key here is learning how to sustain that level of success that really matters. And I was like, man, so many young real estate people are just trying to become a millionaire. All right. I've been there. I know. Okay. But then the main point is sustaining that lifestyle and whatever that lifestyle may be for you. And I was like, man, that's where I'm at. I got to this summit, and then what? A lot of people, what's next? And that's why you need to hire a coach. Like, what's next? What's the next thing? And that's kind of why I create a lot of small little businesses and try to develop them and help people, and especially this podcast, kind of have contribution, the 6 Maslow laws. But I thought that was awesome. It's just not getting to the summit. It's not getting to be successful. It's to learn to sustain that level of success. And hopefully that's why you listen to the podcast. He said the 2 characters that make it for him, he says he's a hustler at heart and he's fearless. And it's pretty legit. The book's phenomenal. It's got some great details. And I'm going to break the whole book down to you in the next couple podcasts. But I thought this was the last thing I listened to. I don't know, it's chapter 5. And he says, focus on the potential, not the payday. Ooh, focus on the potential and not the payday. And I know that feels like my first one, monetary success, but I was like, man, it's the opportunity in my mind. Don't focus necessarily on the payday yet. Paydays are great, but they come and go. But what's the potential that it can make you a better person? Like I've chatted before, I'm not the same person 6 months ago. And it's crazy. And he talks a lot about this in this book. This book was really impactful for me. Just a lot of the struggles that he went through with people. And some people were just so old school and fixated and wouldn't pivot and wouldn't grow. And I see that in my own market. I see people on Facebook saying all this stuff, and they're still at the same position that they were. And it's just like 6 years later, you're still doing the same thing you did before and you got no assets. Come on. Are you becoming a better person? What are you trying to do? Focus on the potential, not the payday. The potential of building a relationship. We got a couple events coming up. I got the SavvyBootcamp.com. It's in September. It's going to be fly. What's the potential of meeting a lifelong friend? You can get tickets right now for $500. It's going to go up to $750. What's the potential of connecting with like-minded people? It's not the payday. Yeah, you want to get an ROI. If you come to the event, yeah, you want to leave better. That's the payday. But what's the potential to meet someone new that could be a partner, could be a deal maker for you, could be an opportunity? You've got to think of it like that. I'm going to leave you with number 11, bonus. This is something that I was reading in another book because I got all these books I'm rolling. It's the summertime. Always look at the deals. Always look at your deals from the banker's perspective, and which is really interesting because I'm closing the Family Dollar deal this week, and I'm looking at Family Dollar as a boo-boo tenant because they're getting over at $8 a square foot, and in this market, at that city, at that address, it should be $12. Boom. But my banker looks at it, they're on a 15-year lease, 17-year lease. I look at it as 17 years of pain because I can't wait for them to move out because I will raise the rents. But see, if I look at it from a banker's perspective, it's a deal, and you might as well keep rolling with it. So the next time you look at a deal, some people look at path of progress. Some people look at forced appreciation. What's your play? You should really consider what's your exit strategy and what are your goals and agenda and where's this going to look like. But also put on your matrix, what's the perspective from the banker's viewpoint? All right. This is your boy, Steve VanCauwenbergh. You tuned in to the Savvy Podcast. Man, let me know. I really appreciate the last couple people encouraging me at the St. Louis landlord endeavor. I just try to pour my hat out to you guys and try to give you as much education as I can and not fall through the traps that I've fallen through. If you have a comment, question, hit me up. Go to SavvyPodcast.com. You can get a hold of me there. Have a great day and happy Father's Day.
Thanks for listening to the Savvy Radio Show. Glide online and listen to our other motivating episodes at SavvyRadioshow.com. Connect on Twitter at LandlordBook and always be buying assets.